Hey everybody, Alex White here with Full Time Fantasy now. First time we've had a podcast since we changed the name to Full Time Fantasy. I'm here with Mark Ferris. How we doing, Mark? It's been a while.
Doing good. I kind of like the new logo a little bit better than the other one too.
Yeah, it's pretty good
Yeah,
work too.
it's different.
Can't complain. I like the name. It fits us full time. We never take a sport off, never take a day off, right?
That's right. I'm playing 2 or 3 different sports right now. So
Well, good. Get digging into MLB then.
yeah, a little bit.
Nice. Well, happy to hear it. Well, we have the PGA Championship this week. Are we excited?
I'm into this. This is going to be a good one, I think, because this is a U.S. Open style course for a PGA Championship. You can't ask for much better than that.
Absolutely. So Mark mentioned it. We're heading to New York, Bethpage Black. The field is 156 players. Top 70 in ties make the cut. So pretty much is going to be half the field making the cut. And normally at a major, you can cut out about 50% of the players at the bottom anyways. Some guys just don't really have a chance to compete. So if we can nail down the other half of the field that's going to make the cut and get our 6 of 6 through, I think it's going to be a good week for us.
And this is going to be another week too, everybody, where you look at your lineup and you think, "Wow, that's a great lineup," because the pricing allows it, and it's just what the DFS sites do the weeks of majors. So don't get overly excited by the fact that you have 6, or out of the 6 guys you have, 4 of them are in the top 30 in the world. So it just happens that way.
Yeah, but also you get sucked into some of those plays too.
Absolutely.
Amazing pricing. So we'll try to pivot around those guys, hopefully get away from a little bit of chalk here and give you an edge this week. So, Mark, let's start breaking down this top range. Just briefly, a little course rundown. It is Bethpage Black. It's a massive course. It's a par 70. It's over 7,400 yards. So that's huge for a par 70.
Are they playing at a par 70 or par 71 this week?
It's a par 70. They did change a par 5 into a par 4.
Okay.
That created it to be a par 70. So make sure. I think when they played it previously, like as a U.S. Open in 2002, it was a par 71. They have changed it to a par 70.
Okay, because I think some of the sites were still saying that it was 71. That's why I was wondering. I thought most of the U.S. Opens, they tried to structure them at 70.
Yep. So par 70. It's going to take one of those par 5s out of it for us. So really, we only have 2 par 5s to attack this week, which gives your shots gained par 4 golfers a much better chance at gaining an edge. But that placed one of the par 4s, I believe, a little over 520 yards, which is absolutely massive for a par 4.
Yeah, I was just double checking. I'm not doubting your word. I'm just double checking because, like I said, it is shown as a par 70. So I'm assuming that's one of the sites had it as a 71. So just so you're not confused, Alex is 100% correct. It is a par 70 this week. It's the same yardage. It's the same yardage. So it's
They pretty much just said, "Hey, we're making this short par 5 a really long par 4." Bombers obviously are going to have an advantage on that par 4. But any certain stats you're looking for, or any certain type of golfer that we're searching for this week, Mark?
From what I've seen and what I've remembered from when they played Bethpage before, these greens are not easy to hit. So you're looking for some accurate guys coming in there. With the length of the course, you're probably looking at guys that are decent with their mid to long irons. I think that's probably what some of your research will probably show. They got to be accurate. Even with your driver, you don't want to spray because from what I've read, the rough is supposed to be somewhere between what they would do for the U.S. Open and what they would do for the Barclays, which they played some of the FedEx Cup playoffs here in the last probably 4 or 5 years. So you're going to have some roughs, probably 3 to 5 inches, probably closer to 3 than 5, but you don't want to spray it there because it's going to be penalizing.
Absolutely. If you're watching, Shot Track or something, and you see your golfers in the rough, honestly, cross your fingers for a par. I was watching a video on Twitter of Matthew Fitzpatrick dropping a ball in the rough, and it is like fescue. And when I say fescue, that means it's like 5 to 8 inch long in certain areas. No wonder Justin Thomas decided he didn't want to play, because he probably would have snapped his wrists in half coming out of this rough.
Yeah, I think that was a smart move on his part. And like you said, usually, you see the rough on some of these other courses, you actually see the top of the ball or some of the ball. Sometimes the ball sits up. I don't think you're going to see much of that this week.
Yeah, it's gonna dive in there. So I mean, there's gonna be a lot of layups. That's why there's certain stats where it is gonna be a long iron course for sure. But with layups, I'm also looking like proximity from 75 to 100 yards, because if they do have to lay up, they need to be good from that area to get up and down. So it's not all about the long iron; it's about how they can scramble out of this crazy rough.
Yeah, your iron play is going to be a big thing this week. Whether you're hitting from the fairway and hitting the mid to long iron, or you're trying to hit the green with a recovery shot and still make par.
Most definitely. All right, Mark. Well, let's break down this top range. It's always the hardest in a major. But top of the range for DraftKings, we have Tiger Woods at 11.3. Let's drop all the way down just to Justin Rose at 99,100. So 99 up. That's kind of our top range. We have Rose, Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, and Tiger Woods. How are you separating those just awesome golfers up top?
I'm really not. I think my position this week on some of these guys is going to be take a stand. I mean, these guys can all win it. Of course, they can all blow up, but right now, I mean, the betting favorite is Tiger Woods. I'm not really going that way, although I don't expect Tiger to play poorly. I'm leaning more towards, maybe even a little bit further down in that $9,000 range. But I also like Dustin Johnson because, like you said, it's a bomber, and Dustin's pretty accurate with his driver. So he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be able to bomb it down and not be in the rough as often as, say, a McIlroy. McIlroy's pretty accurate too, but you get somebody like Phil Mickelson, some of those guys, I think Phil's going to be spending a lot of time in the rough unless he straightens the driver out.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I love DJ up top. I would probably go DJ and then Brooks. And Brooks doesn't necessarily line up great for this course, but he never really pops on my statistical model. He's just awesome at golf. And he shows up for majors in a big way, and he just consistently does it. If Tiger wasn't there, him and DJ were going to go into a playoff at the Masters. So Brooks is just lighting it up. He had a great week last week and a birdie fest. And his putter, I think he gained almost 7 strokes on the greens. He actually went to his old putting coach. He had a new putting coach at the beginning of the year, and he switched back to his old one. And it's paid dividends. He had him before the Masters as well. And his putter's kind of lightened up. And that's why the beginning of the year, it wasn't, the Brooks we came to love and know. He also had that big weight loss we talked about with the Sports Illustrated. He lost, 15, 20 pounds, messed with swing. Said he's gained most of that back, and then he's got a new putting coach. So his game's in a really good spot. I love Brooks. I just feel like his ownership might get a little bit too high. I like getting Brooks at under 15%, but I really believe that DJ and Rory kind of might go overlooked, especially Rory. I've heard DJ's name a ton, but if you're playing Millionaire Maker, I think Rory, you might find him at like 12%, which would be crazy the way his year's going.
Yeah, especially if you feel like you have to get one of those guys in that top tier that we're talking about now, because you can set a lineup without starting it at the $9,900 range. You can go below that and still get a good quality lineup. In fact, there's a couple of guys right below that I wouldn't underestimate their ability to actually be in contention come Sunday.
Most definitely. And you can decide. Roster construction's everything, but finding an ownership edge in majors is where it's at. If you can figure out, where to pivot off of, if somebody's super high owned and you're just like, yeah, I'm in between and on the fence, go with the lower owned guy 100% of the time. Just do it. And if you bite you in the butt, who cares? But there's the chance that it works out exactly how you had envisioned. Tiger came in at under 10% owned and won the Masters, and Brooks came in at under 15% owned and got second. And DJ came under 50% owned and got second. So, those were the 3 top names, and that's why they're at the top of the list here. And I love them all. Honestly, I'm going to be a little bit off Tiger as well. And I think most people are. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about him this week, and it's kind of surprising me. I know they're excited about him winning the Masters, and obviously they mentioned that, but there's been a lot of negative comments about Tiger this week, and just, how can he go back to back? I don't see it, but just like you said, I don't see him having a bad week either.
Right.
And then as far as like Justin Rose goes, we haven't really touched on him. It's what Justin Rose is going to show up. If it's good Justin Rose, it's a top 3. If it's okay Justin Rose, it's a top 40. If it's a crap Justin Rose, he might miss the cut. And right now, before the Wells Fargo, he had mentioned, he's like, I have no idea where my game is. But then he came out, and I think he was like top 3. So it's really how he's feeling that day and that week. I'm on the fence, but I feel like he might be the lowest owned in that entire top range is Justin Rose.
Yeah, we can sit here and talk about from Jason Day all the way up to Tiger Woods for a long time, but there's really no need to do it because you could pick any of those guys in a lineup, start one or two of those guys in a lineup, maybe probably more likely just one. But John Rahm could play Brooks Koepka 10 times and they'd split 5 and 5. It's just you're splitting hairs.
Yeah, and let's shoot down into that range then, since we're talking about it. My favorite play on the entire slate is actually Jason Day. I just think his game fits extremely well for this course. He's long off the tee. He's an excellent putter on Poa greens, and he has a really high ball flight. And like you said, the greens are hard to hit at Bethpage. And with his high ball flight, it kind of protects him from, if he's even decently accurate with his approaches, it's going to protect him from low line drive shots into bunkers where they plug. It's going to be kind of soft landing because the greens are super firm. So if you have a higher ball flight, your ball is going to hit a little bit softer. And I feel like his proximity, is going to become key. If he can, land his approaches between 10 and 20 yards or 20 feet to the hole, he's the guy I'd put my money on to put it in from that range. So I love Jason Day. I love John Rahm, DJ, and Brooks Koepka. Those are my top 4 9K and above. And I do like Xander as well. I just think he's an awesome, he's kind of Brooks Koepka light when it comes to majors. He's played, I think, 6 out of his last 8 majors. He's in the top 10. He is extremely good when it comes to strong field events. And he also is very good tee to green. And, his putter is best on Poa more than any other green. So I'm high on those 5. It would be Schauffele, John Rahm, Brooks Koepka, Jason Day, number 1, and then also DJ at the top. Those are going to be my top 5 in that range.
And see, this is where I'm going to prove our point because we're splitting hairs. Because in my top 5, if I had to pick him, I would pick DJ, probably Rory, then Ricky Fowler, Fleetwood, and I would probably go Jason Day as well. So, there's out of those 11, 12 guys, we just named 8 or 9 of them as favorites. We only overlapped on a couple.
Yeah, so, Ricky shows up consistently at majors as well. And he's having a really good season. It's just when he's off, he's really off. And when he's on, his iron shots are within 8 feet of the hole, 10 out of the 18 holes on the entire course. When he's lighting it up, he's lighting it up. What is your feel on Fowler this week? Obviously he's Fowler. He's going to show up when he shows up. But do you have a strong feeling about him this week at all?
I have a gut feeling about Fowler this week because I think it's just it seems like with him, with every major, you always feel like he's got a chance. And that's probably because a few years ago, he was top 5, I think, in all 4 of them. Personally, I think Fowler has a better than a 50% chance of finishing probably top 3.
Okay. Yeah. I have nothing bad to say about Fowler. I'll be sprinkling him in. I really touched on my top 5, and I'm going to hammer those top 5. You can read a little bit more in depth in my article about why I like them so much. Well, let's go down. We have DeChambeau all the way down to Bubba or Phil at 8K. I think for Phil, for example, like you had already mentioned it previously, he's a little bit inaccurate off the tee. And I think he's really going to struggle on this course, with that. He's an awesome scrambler, but in a major type field with roughs like this, if he's not hitting the fairways, I'm just going to take him out of my player pool. I have nothing really concrete about Phil this week. I don't hate him, but I definitely don't love him. I'm not going to full fade him or anything, but he's not for me. Do you have any love for Phil or anybody around him that you're really narrowing in on?
No, I kind of feel the same way about Bubba. Bubba's one of those guys that he can play lights out, but Bubba can also just disappear. And I heard it was kind of funny, and I know it's just a joke, but somebody said you can't play Bubba this week because he's the only one playing a yellow golf ball. But I mean, Bubba could shock people, but I'm not going to overweight him. The guys that are in there that if I Jordan Spieth, that's another one. I'm not sure I trust him yet. He played a lot better last week, but look at the winning score there, minus 24, minus 25, something like that. It's it's wide open. This isn't wide open. So if he's spraying that driver, which has been part of his problem, he's going to be in the same boat as Phil and stuck with some higher scores. So if I had to pick anybody in that range, probably as a safe bet, I would pick Matt Kuchar. And probably a little bit more of a risk, but probably also fairly safe would be Hideki Matsuyama.
Yeah, I mean, Hideki's he doesn't have the upside. I mean, he's been doing it all year. Like, he's been garnering, quite a bit of ownership. I don't think he has anything better than like a top 20 this season. I mean, he might have one tournament where he's better than the top 20. And, at 8,500, I'm willing to play Paul Casey, who has winning upside. I'm willing to play Finau around him, Adam Scott, and Bubba Watson. I am going to take one lefty, so I'm fading Phil, but I will be playing Bubba quite heavily this week. The reason is remember, I played Bubba on courses that he plays well on. He has played this course 3 times in his career, and he has nothing worse than a T18.
Yep.
When I play Bubba, it's courses that I know that he can compete on, and it's all about confidence with Bubba. If he goes in with a good attitude and just like, you know what, I could actually win this thing, which I think he has full confidence in that, I'm going to fire him up. And at 8K, I feel like, Mark mentioned it. He is a little bit scary, and he's definitely a GPP play, but he has the upside to just crush his value at 8K. I mean, he could easily be top 5 in this tournament and then just rattle off, pretty good birdies. I mean, I honestly see the score being like -6 probably is the winner, I would say, on this course.
I think there's been some 10s maybe, but I don't see it maybe this week.
Yeah, well, with them, it was probably 10s when they had that extra par 5. You take that out for 4 rounds, that could be 4-stroke difference right there.
Well, you're also not playing it in May either. So, it was U.S. Open, it was in June. If it was the Barclays, it was in August or September, so it was warmer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm targeting bombers over anything, not only because it's a long course, but because it's been so wet in New York. They said it's been like record inches of rain in that area. So the course is just going to naturally be softer and not nearly as receptive. So shorter hitters aren't going to have the rollout. I am pretty much, I'd say 80% of my golfers are going to be bombers. I have very, very little interest in golfers. I mean, even Kuchar, like, he's like 127th in my model for like driving distance in this field. He's number 1 in approach. So, I mean, obviously, he's really good with long irons. But if he's having an issue, putting it out there, and if the fairways aren't going to, let him get his rollout like he normally gets with his lower ball flight, I think he's going to have a serious tough time getting the ball on the greens, nearly as close to get that number 1 approach that he's ranked in my model. So I actually am taking a stand on Cooch too. At 8,700, I'm not really going to play him. I love Casey. I'm fading Spieth. You said it. You mentioned it. Last week was wide open. That's why I played Daniel Berger because it was a wide open course. Spieth had his lowest or his best scoring round of the entire year, his best scoring 4 rounds. He shot 11 under, and it was on a course that is going to give up a ton of birdies. He had over 20 birdies, but he also had his 3 doubles like he always has. He just can't avoid these big numbers, and it's because his driving is crap right now. And on this course, that double is going to turn into a quad. He's going to see some snowmans. So I am 100% off Spieth this week. I will play Finau because he is a bomber, and I think DeChambeau is a decent GPP play. I'm not really high on him, but I think for ownership leverage in that range, I think DeChambeau comes lower owned than Xander, Jason Day, and Finau, and probably Kuchar as well. And 8,900 is not a bad price for a guy if he's on for 4 rounds, can easily win the tournament.
Yeah, and just back to Bubba too, like you said. I mean, Bubba plays his course well. He's been 13th, 10th, and 18th. The only concern that I always have with Bubba is Bubba never hits a straight shot. So if Bubba's got his bend going the right way or he's controlling it well, then Bubba's going to play well. If he starts overcutting or overdrawing the ball, that's when he gets into trouble. So again, I mean, a good rule of thumb here is he apparently likes the course, so it fits his eye well. So I would expect him probably to play well this week.
Yeah, and one thing about Bubba is he's actually number one in driving distance on this field, which is just crazy. But he's also number two in bogey avoidance on courses over 7,400s with POA greens. And if he's number two in bogey avoidance, I mean, that's, at 8K, that's what you need on this course. You just can't give up a bunch of big numbers. And I feel like Bubba, even this year, he's having a really good year as far as avoiding bogeys. He just hasn't been able to put a bunch of birdies in a row like he normally has. And I mean, on this course, if -5 wins, I could see Bubba easily being around, 3 under in that top 10 range. I'm going to be pretty heavy on Bubba. And if you can talk me off him, try. But I mean, I'm one lefty.
I'm not going to talk you off of him. I'm just saying he's a little scarier than some of the others. It's just the thing. But if you look at the last 12 weeks, Bubba's played 5 times. He's made all the cuts. If you look at Phil, he's played 5 times. He's missed a cut 3 times. So which lefty are you going to try? Which lefty are you willing to take a risk with? I would say Bubba.
Yeah, it's Bubba. And, I mean, Phil actually, he's number one in putting on POA in my model. So, I mean, he has to putt lights out to be that good. But if he's not getting to the green in 2 and he's getting there in 3, I mean, those putts turn into pars. And I mean, that's okay, in a major, but I feel like Bubba can get there in 2 much easier and then avoid bogeys with just massive upside. So, I mean, I'm pretty high on Bubba. I do like Paul Casey quite a bit too in that 8,300 range.
Cantlay's getting a lot of talk too. Patrick Cantlay.
Yep. And with pretty good reason. I mean, he's like top 10 in tee to green in this entire field. And it's huge. He's good. He's accurate. He's long off the tee. He's solid ball striker too. So, I mean, if he is in the rough, he can at least mash it well enough to get it out of the rough and get some length behind it. I have nothing bad to say about Cantlay. I'm afraid of a blow up like he had at the Players, on another longer course with heavier rough. But if he's putting the ball in the fairway, Cantlay can absolutely compete at this course, 100%.
Yeah, I think, like you said too, you get differentiation with the ownership percentages. I think all the chatter that I've seen on Cantlay, I anticipate some higher ownership with him too. So you may be better off fading to somebody else.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I don't like Adam Scott, but I'm not like all in like I normally am. I think he's a solid option because he is accurate off the tee and he is a solid ball striker, but he just needs to get the putter rolling. But he can compete at a high level on this course. Absolutely. It's Adam Scott, and he's having a pretty good year. I mean, I like Scott more in cash than anything else, but that's just me personally. I know you can't get him right, and I can't get him right. Can't get him wrong. It seems like this year, and it's just I think I'm going to play Bubba over him though. But obviously, I've talked enough about Bubba, so let's move on to that 7K range. Unless you have something else you want to mention in the 8K range.
No, I think if you want a GPP shot, Patrick Reed might not be a bad one. He won at this course in 2016. Now, granted, that was the Barclays, but still, it's this course. So he may be a good option. He may go overlooked as well.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, honestly. As a milli maker play, I think Reed could come in at sub 8%, and I mean, when he won the Masters, he was like sub 4%. So I have nothing bad to say about Reed. I don't think he's going to crush, but I also don't think he misses the cut. And if he does putt really well and have good irons for a couple of days, he can definitely compete. So I would take Reed over Hideki for sure this week. So this 7K range, let's break it down. Since it's so big, let's go 75 all the way up to Sergio. So we have Haotong Lee all the way up to Sergio Garcia. I kind of love Sergio this week. I think it's a great fit for him. He's a really long iron. He's accurate off the tee. He's a great ball striker. I mean, this is a good fit for him, and he's a solid putter on POA. Normally that's his biggest issue, but I mean, he ranks top, I think 50 in my model as far as putting on POA, which isn't too bad. I mean, if he putts top 30, that's what gets him into the, top 10. So any love for Sergio at 7,900? I feel like that's a good price for him.
Yeah, and at the same price, I'd take Sergio over Henrik Stenson all day, although I love Henrik Stenson as a golfer. Given this situation here, I would take Sergio Garcia all day long. From the 75 or 7,600 and up, I guess, where we went down to 7,500 with Haotong Li. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in that little pack there that I would consider as options to fill a lineup out. Louis Oosthuizen, he's a good one to look at. Ian Poulter, of course, you knew I was going to say that. Gary Woodland, he's a pretty accurate bomber. It's kind of what you're looking at there. Kevin Kisner, he doesn't hit it a long way, but like you said, the downfall for him is going to be the wet course, and he's not going to get the run. He's going to have to try to carry it, which is probably going to be detrimental to him. But there's many guys. I mean, Mark Leishman. The only thing with Mark Leishman right now is I'm not trusting he's back because he burned me last week. I mean, I understand these guys have injuries, but I hate it when a guy waits till it's time to get on the first tee and then decides to drop out, because that doesn't do anybody any good as far as a DFS player. Now, I know they don't care about DFS players, but it's just frustrating. In fact, there was a little bit of a debate on Sirius radio this week about whether or not they should have late swap in golf and if they actually could do it. I don't know. I can go both ways. I kind of saw both sides of the argument, but the only thing with, like I said, the only thing with Leishman is I don't know how that back really is. Was it really that bad that he had to withdraw? Or was it more of a thing, well, I got a twinge, I might as well just go ahead and hit Bethpage for a couple of rounds just to get some practice in? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, his ownership's going to be obsolete this week after what he did last week. I mean, he came in at like 25% owned last week. Obviously didn't play even a single hole. So you could be right, with him. Just maybe he got a little twinge and was like, I'd rather just save myself for the major. And I see that. If he's planning on suiting up, I think he feels confident he can last 4 rounds. He probably just didn't want to be exhausted because I mean, even he knew that there was going to be some bad weather over the weekend and there was some delays in that tournament, and it would have been a long week if he was playing even a little bit injured. So it might have been his best bet, but I think he'll make the smart decision. He could burn people, but I don't see it. I'm not huge on Mark this week. I do like Louis. I like Henrik, Sergio. Even Woodland's a pretty solid option just because he's super long off the tee. And obviously I have some love for Jason Kokrak. He's kind of a DFS darling this year. Just been super, super solid. I mean, his approaches, his driving, his tee to green is it's exceptional. And his putter is better than it ever has been in his entire career this season. So I have nothing but good things to say about Kokrak. I mean, he missed the cut at Wells Fargo, and I hope that drives down his ownership. But he's always played Wells Fargo like crap. His course history has shown it. And he still garnered 25% ownership in that tournament. But it was no surprise to me that he missed the cut there. At this course, I feel like it's a great fit for Jason. So I love him at 7,600. He's probably going to be one of my cash game plays for sure.
Well, he's only played it once, and he had a 7th place finish in 2016. You go back to Mark Leishman. He's missed the cut both times he's played this course. But we've talked about this before. Mark Leishman's game in 2019 is vastly different than Mark Leishman's game in 2016.
I agree. And then also, I mean, major conditions, it's just a different course. So I'm not going huge on course history. But, I mean, it is nice to see that they've at least seen the course and played it a couple times. That makes a difference. But the course is always different. You see it, when there's these home field advantages, as people call it. They're like, oh, he's a local. Well, he plays it when it's made up for, like, the regular members, not made up for the PGA Tour players. It's always a different course. So it's going to play naturally harder. But yeah, I mean, Louis shows up in majors. He just always does. And he's always under-owned. And he's just kind of this under-the-radar great play at majors. I mean, I don't love Louis, but I have nothing bad to say about him. I mean, he doesn't really fit my model, but he doesn't not fit my model. He's like top 40 in it.
7,800, he's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. So I think Louis is a pretty solid option. But I do like Stenson. I really do. It's not that he's super long off the tee because he always pulls that 3-wood out. I think he's going to be forced to drive the ball this week with how long it is. But he showed some signs of life last week. I think he had like a 14 under, came in like top 20. Not a bad Stenson week comparatively to what he has been doing. I think he's over that wrist injury finally, and he's just super accurate off the tee. So if he can put the ball in the fairway, that's the type of golfer I'm looking for. I don't need him to go out there and shoot 5 under. I need him to go out there and shoot 1 under for 4 rounds, and I'm happy with that.
Right. Yeah, no, he's definitely in play at 7,900. And back to Matt Kuchar, what you were talking about before, if you've seen in the majors in the past, we've been seeing Matt Kuchar around $7,500, $7,800 down there where you just got to jump on it. At 8,700, if that's what he's at, yeah, 8,700. It takes a little bit more thought and a little bit more push to make you jump all over Matt Kuchar this week. If he was down there where Stenson and Garcia and those guys are, we'd be all over him.
Yeah. I mean, he was like 50% owned and like 70% owned in cash for the Masters because he was at 7,800 and he was in the best form of his life. And then he top tens and he pays off his salary tenfold. But it's not that way this week. And I feel like people are going to gravitate towards Sergio. And I think that's why I'm a little bit more partial to Stenson, just because he has the same upside, just worse current form right now. And he's kind of been pissing people off if they've been rostering him. So hopefully we get him at decent ownership. I think Stenson's a pretty solid play at 79.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just, like I said, I love Henrik Stenson as a golfer because just the contact with the ball is just phenomenal. And he wavered a little bit, but then we found out he had the wrist injury. So that explains a lot. Look at JT. I mean, it could be the same thing with him for a while. So yeah, no, I would have no problem. Now I'm not going to load all my lineups with Henrik Stenson, but it may be in 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean, right now he ranks top 80 in driving distance, but I don't really weight that because he pulls 3-wood 99% of the time. So if he is pulling out his driver, which he did a couple times last week at Trinity Forest because it was so long, and I was watching him. He was on the shot tracker, he was on the PGA Tour Live app, and he was striping it down the middle just like he does his 3-wood. So if he can get that extra 20 yards, I feel like he can compete at a high level. Well, that's enough about him. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's get down in there where the range where we're not going to pick that many.
Yeah. There's so many.
7,000 to 8,000 is huge.
Highlighter favorites from 7K to 7,500. If you got 5 or 6 you want to mention, just throw them out there.
From 7K to 7,500. Well, I kind of like Rafa, Cabrera-Bello. Keith Mitchell could surprise. He's been playing well. You have Joel Damon. He's been playing well also. So there's some guys in there that you could definitely pick. Ryan Palmer's played well the 2 times he's played this course, but then, like you said, again, we're not putting a whole lot of weight on course history. About the only thing you can do with course history this week is just know that these guys have played the course and it's not the first time they're seeing it in competition. That's the biggest thing that you can put with course history. I don't know about Byung-Hun An. He could be somebody we could look at. I've seen, at 7,000, and he burned some people last week too by withdrawing, was Charles Howell III. But Charles Howell's been playing great golf. Again, like you said, it's almost like Leishman. If he's willing to suit it up this week, he's almost, he's not going to withdraw again. He's going to finish it out unless something's serious. So there's some guys around the $7,000 range. You really want to get frisky, you got Jim Furyk down there. The problem with Furyk is I'm not sure about the distance.
Yeah. See that. The thing is he pops on my model really well, but the driving distance, he's like 135th out of
Furyk pops.
Yeah, he pops. He's top 20 in my model, but he is 130th in driving distance. And that is a huge factor for me. But, obviously he's really good with long irons. I think he's top 20 in proximity from over 200 yards. He plays par 3s over 200 yards really well. He's 15th tee to green. So he's hitting greens. It's just, can he get there in 2 this week? And I really think it's going to be an issue for him. I feel like he's going to be playing catch up. Charles Howell also ranks well, 17th in my model. great around the green game, but he has missed 3 cuts in a row, which is so not like Charles Howell. 3 cuts straight. I played him last week in cash, like, oh, there's no way he's missing 3 in a row. He screwed me. I threw him in quite a few tournaments that
I did too.
I had 6 of 6, but it was 5 of 6 because he withdrew. And he burnt me pretty bad. And I just thought there was no way he could miss 3 in a row. But if he's injured, that kind of explains why he's missed 3 cuts in a row. I'm not going to touch him this week just to kind of see what's going on, because if he is going to play injured, this course is too big for him.
Yeah,
it's a monster. And if you're playing with any injury, it's going to tear you apart, because you got to walk the thing too. You're not only swinging a club a bunch, you got to walk a massive course.
And you're right. Like JT did it the right way. If there's any he gets in that rough and swings hard once in that rough and his wrist is done, he's done for the year. It was a smart move.
Absolutely. I like Johnny Vegas. He's kind of on this little hot streak at 7,100. I like Charlie Hoffman at 71. He's a solid major player. He just always seems to pop at majors at random tournaments. He might show up pretty well for this event. He actually ranks 9th in my entire model. I'm at 7,100, which is crazy. And his key stats, his worst stat is around the green. Everything else, he's in the top 40 of everything I put out there. Approach, putting, proximity 200 plus, ball striking, par 4s 450 to 500, driving distance, bogey avoidance. He's top 30 in every single one of those stats besides around the green game.
His ownership will probably be down too, because he used to be a lock and load, and then he struggled at the beginning of this year, and we talked about that. And then all of a sudden, right before the Masters, he started playing better.
Yeah, he did. He played well, and then at the Masters, I think he ended up with like 35th or something, which isn't bad. He paid off his price at 7K or whatever he was at. So I don't mind that. It's hard not to like Sung Kang a little bit after shooting 23 under. And he played well at a long course, and he's been having a pretty low-key good season. So I could see him as a kind of a under-owned, decent play at that. Corey Connors won the week before the Masters and came out at the Masters, made the cut, and played pretty well. Definitely paid off his price. So you come in with hot form. I can't discount Sung Kang and what he did last week. I am off Mitchell just because he's a Bermuda putter. He just sucks on pull-up. He's just horrible.
Yeah, that's true.
He truly is. Like in all the tournaments that he's ever top 10, it's all Bermuda. So I'm going to be off Mitchell this week. He does have the length for it. Cam Smith is always a name worth mentioning at 7,500. He seems to pop at random times. Cameron Smith from Australia. He's played well at U.S. Opens before, and like you said, this is a U.S. Open course, but it's a PGA Championship. So I don't mind Cam Smith at 75. And then
what price is Sung Kang? Because I don't have him on my list. Did he get it? Was he added late?
7,200. I got Sung Kang at 72. Yep, that's where he's at.
Okay, because the list I have doesn't have him on there, so he must have been an ad.
Yeah, he's an ad for sure. He wasn't in the field until you win. Let's see. Thomas Peters is a name worth mentioning. The Belgian bomber.
I'll say that as well.
Yeah, the Belgian bomber at 7K is a solid option.
Perez right above him.
Yeah, he's actually coming in playing well. Yeah, he is playing well right now. I have nothing bad to say about Pat Perez, and he's coming in off 2 really good tournaments. And he was playing injured at the beginning of the year. He kind of picks his selection of courses really well in tournaments he just wants to play in. So at 7K, I think that's a solid option. My 2 favorites are Hoffman and Vegas, though, for sure in this range. I do like Thomas Peters. He's solid at 7K.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's see. And let's go underneath, unless you got anybody else you want to mention in that range.
No, I don't.
What about Justin Harding? He shot 13 under over the weekend last week. Trinity.
Yeah, I kind of like him. But the only thing is there's 2 or 3 other guys there that I like better.
Okay.
That's one thing I can say with that. But at 7,000?
Or anybody that you like better. Just who do you like better than Harding?
Well, right around him, I like Peters and I like Perez a little bit better.
Okay.
But Harding is probably at the 7,000 price range. He's probably number 3 because I'm agreeing with you. As much as I like Charles Howell III, I think I'm going to probably stay off of him this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a smart play. Missing 3 cuts in a row, and you don't know if there's something deeper there. So yeah, he's a fade for me. George Campillo is a name worth mentioning at 6,900. He's been, I think, first, second, and then like a 17th his last 3 European events.
Yeah.
Um,
Eddie
not,
Pepperell,
not
right above him.
Yeah, and then Eddie's coming off a second after the British Masters. He shot a 6 under on Sunday. Shot himself up into second. Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about him. He's not super long off the tee. That's the only thing I would say. I can't trust him to get there in 2. But I mean, this new age of golf, 7,400 might not be that long. Everybody, even though we say that he's 130th in driving distance, you got to think of all the just bombers that are out there now. His average might be 300, and then the 90th golfer might be 303 yards.
Yeah.
So it might not be that huge of a difference, but there is a difference, and it is worth mentioning. But Pepperell shows up, for big events, and coming off second, he's in good form. Nothing bad to say about him whatsoever. Lucas List, a name I want to mention just because cheap, and he's a freaking masher of the ball. He's a great ball striker. He's accurate off the tee. He's long off the tee. It's just going to be, can he show up even 2 rounds to putt decently? The answer is probably no, but I do want to mention his name because he's actually ranks 10th in my model. So it's a name worth mentioning just because he pops there.
Yeah, no, there's very few guys below that $7,000 range when you get down below 6,500, there's even fewer that I'm going to touch.
Yeah. Then I'll mention a few. I like JB Holmes at 66 is a name worth mentioning. A guy that can just mash the golf ball. Depends what JB shows up, but if it's solid JB, it could be top 10. And at 6,600, I mean, that's absolutely mashing his price.
We're saying that a lot this week. Depends on which one of them shows up.
And well, that's the master. I mean, that's majors for you.
Right.
It's a mental game. They have the tools to show up, but I mean, nothing's for sure in golf. I mean, I gave you my diehard plays up top, but outside of that, I mean, anything under 8K, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm confident, like Kokrak, that's pretty much it. Everybody else is like, they could make the cut, but who really knows?
There's 2 guys down around 6,500 and 6,400 that I paid a little bit of attention to. One of them is Scott Piercy because he's been playing so well. And then the other one is Julian Suri, who's been playing well on the European Tour.
Yep, I like the Julian Suri call quite a bit. He's a master of the golf ball. Came off an injury and top 20 to his first 3 tournaments after the injury. So he's obviously healthy. He's swinging the stick well. And then Piercy, he didn't have a single bogey, Mark. Did you see that stat last week?
Yeah, I saw that. He played all week, the entire week without a bogey.
72 holes without a bogey. That's unheard of. And I was watching it on Sunday because he had like an 8-footer to par, his 18th hole, and he made it. I mean, he almost bogeyed his final hole, 72nd hole, and it would have dropped him into 3rd instead of 2nd. But he made it. 8 feet. I mean, just ice cold on the greens. I mean, and ice cold as being good. Dylan Fratelli is not a bad play. He's been playing the PGA Tour for quite a while now. I mean, he doesn't have great upside, but at 6,300, it's a lower dollar name that I want to mention.
Yeah, and just to be clear, these names we're giving you right now are ones that if you fill your lineup with 5 guys that you really, really like and you're only stuck with $6,000 or $6,400, $6,300 and up to maybe 65 or 66, that's why we're throwing these names out there. We're not recommending any of these guys be a core in any combination of lineups.
Yeah, you'll get our cores from our articles, guys, for sure. But we do want to mention it just in case you're crazy enough to throw in a Patton Kizzire at 62, which is another name I'll throw out there. Played well at the Masters. Just another longer course, and if he shows up at a major, who knows? I mean, he's pretty solid off the tee. He ranks really well. He's actually like top 25 in my model at a really, really low price. So it's a name I thought I'd throw out there. But outside of that, Mark's right. I mean, don't just go throw these guys into your core. But if you want to play a couple low-dollar GPPs or if you want to just crazy shot at a millionaire maker, ownership is everything. So you're going to have to take a chance.
If you're really just having fun, there's a guy named Jazz in there too. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
Yeah. Who's Jazz?
Jazz Janowatan, whatever.
Is he really low?
He is 6,400. He's right. He's right. Same. He's priced the same as Suri. I'd pick Suri over him, but.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I would pick Suri as well over him, and then Piercy as well if I'm going that low.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just fun to say. That's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
David Lipsky is a solid European player. He's pretty consistent too. It's not going to be an American leaderboard, guys. You got to take some chances on some Europeans. It's majors or some random Europeans you maybe have never heard of will be up there. But if you have any idea of the European Tour, I've said quite a few decent names. Like Ross Fisher is a solid name. Ryan Fox are a couple of good golfers. Lipsky, Campillo. I think those are probably your best European. Hughes Luton is like one of the best approach players. I just don't know if he's long enough, but he is phenomenal on his approach shots. So if he's putting in the fairway, he could end up having a pretty decent tournament as well.
The one thing I do like, and too, if you look, especially with DraftKings, if you look at these guys, these European guys, and they show you the previous tournament history, DraftKings will show you the European Tour. Don't think FanDuel shows that all the time. They're basically looking purely at a U.S. Tour result. So, if you look at a guy, I might only show him 2 out of 2 on cuts, and that's because he played the Masters and maybe the Sony Open. But these guys are playing every week in Europe, and you got to remember that because some of these guys are been top 10 for the last 5 weeks in a row. They're good players. You just don't hear a lot about them because we're watching the U.S. Tour.
Absolutely. If you love golf and you really want to get into it, download the European Tour app. You can get all their stats of these golfers that you want to know about. That's why I'm on Surrey a little bit. He's top 10 in driving distance on the European Tour. I wouldn't have known that unless I have, this information. So if you love it and you want, tips and hints on how to get better at it, that's what me and Mark are for. Hit us up on Slack chat about these random Europeans if you want to know, or just anybody you're on the fence on. How you want to do roster construction for the Millionaire Maker. The answer is leave money on the table. That's the easiest answer right there for roster construction, especially in the Millionaire Maker, because about 60% of the lineups are going to have $50,000 used on DraftKings. Guarantee it. FanDuel is running the Tiger Woods special again. I don't know if you saw that, Mark. If Tiger wins,
$9 entry fee, and if Tiger wins, everybody gets their money back.
Exactly, and I think it was JK. Was that who put 15 lineups on FanDuel?
And then I told him he was getting all his money back too in his return on investment.
He had a good week at the Masters, but then Tiger won, and he won an extra $420 because he had all these qualifiers that got him in. So that's awesome. Being aware of that stuff is huge. So contest selection, all that stuff. Ask us. That's what we're here for. Mark, anything else you wanna do before we get out of here?
No, just like Alex said, just don't be shocked looking at your lineup thinking it's the greatest thing in the world, and but you have to differentiate. So if you've got 2 guys that are priced about the same and you think one's going to be lesser owned, take the lesser owned guy because all these guys can play.
Absolutely. All right, Mark. Well, good luck, everybody. Another podcast, first time at Full-Time Fantasy. If you guys have not been checking it out, make sure you check out MLB. I'm sure we have MLB content. We have MMA content. There's NASCAR content that I've been reading, all kinds of good stuff. So make sure you get over there, check us out.
Get on Slack chat too, because that's where I've been doing relatively well in MLB. I've got a bunch of qualifiers that start this week that I won. The guys on Slack, Renner and all those guys, they're killing it. So
yeah,
if you like baseball.
Ryan Braun tonight at 0.81%, and he hit a homer in the second inning.
That's because what Renner say yesterday. Don't be surprised if Braun homers in Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. So stuff like that, it's just awesome. And you can find it on Slack. It's 24/7. People are talking smack to each other. It's not just a subscription, guys. It's a family, like they said. We actually care about your results. So if you have, awesome results, post it. We want to see it. That's what we're here, and we're doing this for you guys.
Yep. So good luck, guys. Hope you have some green screens this week, and everybody cashes and save a little bit for the 2 of us.
That's perfectly said, Mark. All right. Take it easy.
All right.